Hey there, guys. How are you? Something bad happened. Reactor number 4 blew up in my house yesterday, and I'm actually checking my movies for radiation, seeing what's gonna, cause some long-term damage. And this is my radiation detector. I know it looks like a TV remote. Oh wait, I'm picking up some readings from this one. What is it? Ah! I don't want to hold it too tight, it might cause cancer. First up, it's Chernobyl Diaries, and before we jump into this real quick though, I have a ton of Blu-rays here today to show you, so I'm going to make this a two-parter. So after you're done watching part 1, go ahead and click over to part 2. A lot of good movies over there, including male strippers and aliens. Anyway, it's Chernobyl Diaries, and this is kind of like a found footage point of view shaky cam movie, except in this movie, the way it's filmed, it looks like, somebody's like, hey dude, I have a camcorder, I'm on vacation. Except that guy's called the cameraman in the movie. He's not actually part of the movie. But you get that sense that somebody in their group's holding the camera, even though that's not the case at all. Anyway, this movie takes place in Chernobyl, which was a nuclear fallout area from the 1980s. Basically, a reactor went bad in a small town. Boom, radiation for the next 20,000 years. Anyway, this stupid group of people go there, and one thing leads to another, and guess what? It kind of turns into The Hills Have Eyes. Oh, so you want to see Chernobyl? Come get in my van with me, get in my van with me. I have the power! And by power, I mean I have Masters of the Universe on Blu-ray starring Dolph Lundgren, who's one of the greatest American actors of all time. I don't know how this guy hasn't won more Academy Awards. I really don't get it. Anyway, Masters of the Universe is 1987 pure fluffy cheese. I mean, this is a very B-rate corny movie, but you know what? That's the nostalgia factor about this thing. You have Dolph Lundgren trying to act like He-Man, and he's just sitting there going, I think we have to go. And it's just like, where did that accent come from? I don't know if he was trying to be the Russian again from Rocky 4 or what was happening. Maybe the blonde mullet wig was on a little too tight. I don't know. And then you got Skeletor, who in this movie, Skeletor's prosthetic makeup design was not very good. Like, it just felt like the makeup that this guy was wearing was just gonna fall off into his lap. I was like, that just looks like someone slapped a lot of bologna on his face and spray painted it white. In one part of the movie, Courtney Cox finds out something very dramatic, and this is how she reacts. So PQ on this thing actually is not that bad. The movie looks good on Blu-ray, but no major complaints. It looks pretty good. Now, bonus features on this thing, you just have basically a commentary and a theatrical trailer. The theatrical trailer alone is enough for a few laughs, and just watch it. I don't know why, it just makes me laugh. Next, it's Whatever Happened to that was kind of creepy. Anyway, this movie is very creepy and bizarre. It's basically two psychotic sisters who start kind of nipping away at each other. Anyway, this is the Digibook edition, and check this thing out here. The Blu-ray's in the Blu-ray player, obviously, but why do I have to make this so awkward? It's from 1962. You flip through here, it's got a lot of black and white photos, information about the movie, production, sets, crew, casting. And let me talk about the casting real quick here. This movie stars Joan Crawford, and if you're not familiar with Joan Crawford, this might help. No more wire hangers! Now call me Mommy Dearest. Digibooks just make me feel better. It's like having a library on your shelf, but there's not books, there's not like pages I have to read in here. There's a movie, so I don't have to think. There's just something creepy about old psychotic women that are in black and white. Look at that. Next up, it's an Alfred Hitchcock film. It's Dial M for Murder, and this is a 3D movie. Kind of weird to say that. In the mid-1950s, they were making 3D movies. And that brings me to another point. 3D, every like 20 years, comes back. I mean, they did it in the 1950s, then they did it again in the 1980s, and now they're doing it again. Anyway, this movie's based on a stage play, and it really shows because most of the movie just takes place in one little room, which is kind of bizarre to think, hey, let's shoot a 3D movie, but we're just gonna make everything happen in one room. But really, I mean, a lot of these directors who want 3D, that's kind of where they want it to go. They want those dramatic, slow-paced movies to be shot in 3D. They don't think of it as a spectacle event. They just feel like the depth should be there. And you know what? I kind of completely disagree with it. I mean, you have Grace Kelly in the movie. Beautiful woman. I mean, that is a classic beauty right there. And I get weird when I talk about things, don't I? And as far as picture quality goes on Dial M for Murder, well, not very good. A lot of bad things happen in this Blu-ray transfer. In some of the scenes, there's a massive halo effect going on around the characters. It's almost like when you see a bad green screen effect on YouTube, like some kid standing in front of a green screen, there's like a white line going around him, and it looks all bizarre and weird. That goes on a lot in this movie. The picture quality is kind of soft, it's a little bit fuzzy, there's a lot of artifacts, but the front cover here kind of has like a holographic 3D thing going on. Look at this. I'm going to kill you. Oop, I'm getting closer. Next up, another Hitchcock film, Strangers on a Train. You know, I wasn't familiar with this movie until I just recently watched it, and I was sitting there watching, I was like, this reminds me of another movie. Throw Mama from a Train, the 1980s movie starring Danny DeVito. Anyway, to make a short story even shorter, that movie is based on this. Anyway, the basic plot to this movie is you have two strangers on a train, and they're both talking back and forth, and they're, you know, just getting into conversation, and then they kind of are joking around, and they're like, what would be the perfect crime? And they start going back and forth, and, you know, one person's kind of joking, the other one's kind of really going for it. You know, I can see myself in that situation. You know, I'm on some form of public transportation, I'm just sitting there with a guy beside me. Oh yeah? Well, I bet I could kill her and throw her out of the airplane. And then he just looks at me and says, and he gets up and moves, and then I get arrested once the plane lands. And the picture quality on this movie, phenomenal. So anyway, guys, those were the Blu-rays for the first part of the video, and make sure you check out part 2 of the video to check out all these other movies, and there's some good stuff here. You'll click right here, and then you'll magically come with me. You guys ready? Let's go! You didn't click it yet, did you?